fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
What's up, Salt Strong Nation? Joe Simons, like diamonds. We are back talking about anxiety again. I've posted a couple of podcasts and one video that has been watched and shared by many thousands of people. In the title, I put it out there on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. It was called Anxiety Attacks, How I Overcame Severe Anxiety Attacks Without Drugs. And if you don't know the backstory, this is something I dealt with in really my mid-20s all the way into my 30s. It was about 14 years total from like start, meaning like having my first full-on, like I thought I was having a heart attack, dying anxiety attack, to the end where I essentially overcame anxiety attacks. And that's a long journey. That's a long time. And for some of you who are maybe just starting this journey, maybe you're in your first year, you might be thinking, I can't do this for 14 years. And most likely you won't have to. I mean, 14 years is a long time for something like anxiety to kind of control you and to control your day-to-day just activities and how you look at things and how you make decisions. Because I made a lot of bad decisions just out of fear that I might have an anxiety attack, and I didn't want to look bad. And looking back, I let it control my life for too long. And there might be others of you who have dealt with it even longer, and you just feel like, all right, I just can't get out of this funk. I always have this just anxiety and this fear and this kind of just panic ready to go at any given time. And I get you, because I dealt with it. It was every single day I dealt with it in some form or fashion. And it was really, really tough. But now looking back, it was also one of the best things that ever happened to me. One, because I can appreciate what it feels like to feel great. I can appreciate what it feels like to not have fear. And I had to overcome something. I think anytime that you can overcome something that's challenging and something like anxiety, and which is really just a form of fear, it empowers you. You become stronger. And so I wanted to record this one because over the past 30 days, I've had a handful of people who have watched this video. And the common and they all email me, which I love reading the emails, and I obviously keep all that stuff confidential. One of the questions that has come up in almost every single instance was, like once you kind of figured out and I'm going to share kind of the three secrets that I talked about. There was three big things that once I tied them in all together, everything got easier. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened pretty quick. But the question everyone would ask is, all right, well, how long did it take you? Like, I'm trying your three things, which is breathing, mission, and faith. I'm trying them, and it's been 10 days. How long does it take? And so everyone, I think we're all programmed to want this quick fix. We all want fast food. We want everything fast in this day and age. And I think that's a huge problem. And I would be doing a massive disservice by replying to anyone that it's going to take, oh, yeah, it's a 30-day program, because it's not. Everyone's different. God designed every one of us differently. And maybe even you're dealing with this with a spouse or a child who's going through some severe anxiety, and you're wondering, all right, they've been doing this for so long, and maybe you are taking drugs, and that's fine. I tried that, and it was just not a fit for me. I felt like it definitely depressed me, and it depressed my attitude and my really just everything about me. If you guys listen to me or know me, I got a lot of energy. I'm get up pumped, and like all that was just gone. So it definitely took away some of the anxiety, but it also took away like me, a big part of me, which is just energy. And so that's why I'm personally, at least for me, and I tried them for a couple months. Drugs were not the answer for me. So regardless of where you are, who you are, or maybe it is a loved one that you're dealing with, there's not a specific time that it's just automatically going to go away. And I think you probably know that deep down, but it is interesting that all 5 people asked me that is, all right, once you started doing the breathing that I'll share with you in a second, and once you define a mission, your why do you get up in the morning? And if you had some faith in God and just faith that you're going to get through it, how long did it take? And so I'm going to read something. I recently finished Good to Great. It's a book. I've read it 2 times, and I've just finished rereading it. And there's a piece in there called the Stockdale Paradox. And I'm just going to read from the actual book here, and then I'm going to summarize what this means. And I think for a lot of you, it will hopefully hit home, because this is really one of the most pivotal parts of the book, Good to Great, and even most pivotal parts of my life and how I got through this. So I'm reading from the book right now. So the Stockdale Paradox. The name refers to Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was the highest-ranking United States military officer in the Hanoi Hilton prisoner of war camp during the height of the Vietnam War. Tortured over 20 times during his 8-year imprisonment from 1965 to 1973, Stockdale lived out the war without any prisoner's rights, no set release date, and no certainty as to whether he would even survive to see his family again. He shouldered the burden of command, doing everything he could to create conditions that would increase the number of prisoners who would survive unbroken, while fighting an internal war against his captors and their attempts to use the prisoners for propaganda. At one point, he beat himself with a stool and cut himself with a razor, deliberately disfiguring himself so that he could not be put on videotape as an example of a well-treated prisoner. He exchanged secret intelligence information with his wife through their letters, knowing that discovery would mean torture and perhaps even death. He instituted rules that would help people to deal with torture, because no one can resist torture indefinitely. So he created a stepwise system. After X minutes, you can say certain things that give men milestones to survive towards. He instituted an elaborate internal communication system to reduce the sense of isolation that their captors tried to create, which used a 5x5 matrix of tap codes for alpha characters. Tap, tap equals the letter A. Tap, pause, tap, tap equals the letter B. Tap, tap, pause, tap equals letter F, and so forth, for 25 letters, C doubling for K. At one point, during an imposed silence, the prisoners mopped and swept the central yard, using the code swish-swashing out, "We love you" to Stockdale, on the 3rd anniversary of him being shot down. After his release, Stockdale became the first 3-star officer in the history of the Navy to wear both aviator wings and the Congressional Medal of Honor. So you can understand then my anticipation, the prospect of spending part of an afternoon with Stockdale. One of my students had written his paper on Stockdale, who happened to be a senior research fellow studying the Stoic philosophers at the Hoover Institution right across the street from my office, and Stockdale had invited the two of us for lunch. In preparation, I read In Love and War, the book Stockdale and his wife had written in alternating chapters, chronicling their experiences during those 8 years as he was a prisoner of war. As I moved through the book, I found myself getting depressed. It just seemed so bleak, the uncertainty of his fate, the brutality of his captors, and so forth. And then it dawned on me. Here I am sitting in my warm and comfortable office, looking out of the beautiful Stanford campus on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm getting depressed reading this, and I even know the end of the story. I know that he gets out. I know he reunites with his family and becomes a national hero and gets to spend the later years of his life studying philosophy on the same beautiful campus. If it feels depressing for me, how on earth did he deal with it when he was actually there and did not know the end of the story, like many of us going through anxiety? Here is what he said. "I never lost faith in the end of the story," said Stockdale when I asked him. "I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into a defining event of my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade." I didn't say anything for many minutes, and we continued to the slow walk towards the faculty club, Stockdale limping and arc-swinging his stiff leg that had never fully recovered from repeated torture. Finally, after about 100 meters of silence, I asked, "Who didn't make it out? Who did not get out?" "Oh, that's easy," he said. "The optimist." "The optimist? I don't understand," I said, now completely confused, given what he said 100 meters earlier. "The optimists? Oh, yeah, they were the ones who said, we're going to be out by Christmas." And then Christmas would come, and then Christmas would go. And then they say, "Oh, we're going to get out of here by Easter." And then Easter would come, and Easter would go. And then it was Thanksgiving, and then it was Christmas again, and they eventually died of a broken heart. After another long pause and some more walking, he turned to me and said, this is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. And to this day, I carry a mental image of Stockdale admonishing the optimist with, "We're not getting out by Christmas. Deal with it." Wow, that's so powerful. And I almost get emotional thinking through this because I remember going through these different, I bought a lot of different stuff online, and I bought some of these courses and breathing courses and things you put in your, music in your ears that was like kind of meditation. And I tried all that stuff. And I was always like, all right, by this day, by, July 31st, I'm going to have all this solved and I'm going to be done. And then July 31st would come, and then I'd be ticked off at that program, and then I'd be on to the next thing. And here is a guy who survived probably one of the most worst things you could ever imagine, to be in a prisoner of war, to be in a camp with no rights in a dark, dungy area with no food, hardly any food, no clothes, and you're just getting tortured. And he did it for 8 years, and he basically said the optimists were the ones who died, the people that just always were, oh yeah, we're going to get out by a certain day. I mean, that's it. That's the whole faith that you have to have, that it's not by a certain day. It's that, oh yes, I am going to overcome this. I am going to survive this. I'm going to get through this. I have 100% faith that this is not going to control me for the rest of my life. That's what you got to have. And once I started thinking like that, way before I'd even read this book the first time, that was when things really changed. And that's why if you watch that video, faith is the final part. And there's the faith in God, and there's that faith that you are going to get through this. That this, meaning this anxiety, this small little crappy little piddly thing that really can't hold you back. It's nothing. It's not physical. It can't sit there and wrap its arms around you, even though it feels like that many days. I know it does because I've been there. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's nothing. It's thin air. And when you start believing that over and over again, this is just thin air. I know it's there. I know it's bothering me today, but it's not going to control me for the rest of my life. I have faith, 100% faith that I am going to own this, and I'm going to be a stronger person. I'm going to prevail. I'm going to conquer. And that's the faith that you have to have. It still means you be an optimist, but it can't be the optimist because everyone's asking these questions. I ask that question over and over again. Oh yeah, what's the date? It's not a date. It's not a date, unfortunately. It's a lot of that's going to have to come by you. So let's go back to the three things. And this is what changed it all for me. And for me, I will just tell you, it was a short amount of time, meaning it was, I want to say, a few months. It definitely wasn't 30 days, and it wasn't over a year, but it was a few months where everything all of a sudden clicked, and it just got easier and eventually kind of went away. There was never a day where a lot of people want to hear about some tipping point, right? Where all of a sudden I went to bed with anxiety and I woke up the next morning, it was just gone forever. That never happened. It was a slow, gradual change. It was a very slow and gradual shift in my mind, and really just this anxiety slowly leaving my body and having no effect on me whatsoever. That was a slow. And it's probably like most things in life that people go through, usually just like healing of a bone, right? If you break your bone, unfortunately, you can't just take a pill and it's healed tomorrow. In most cases, it's a slow, gradual thing before that bone builds up the strength to know that you can go back to doing what you were supposed to do. So just please know that. I know just from hearing some of the messages, some of you are going through some severe depression, and I get it. I was there. It was horrible. But just know that you will get through this. But you got to have faith. You got to have faith that you will get through it, and you have to have something like some kind of mission that you get excited for, and you have to do the breathing. So let's start at the top with the breathing, and then we'll go through mission and faith. So the breathing was something that I struggled with for a while. I don't know if it was just my my body type and my back would ache and stuff, but I couldn't do the traditional yoga. I just couldn't sit there and be still for an hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours like some of these yogis do and sit there in meditation with my legs crossed. I get cramps and I end up falling over and just, it made me miserable. But what I did realize really through that underwater breath holding course, that the breath, I mean, that's what we were all born with. It's the first thing we experience when we come into this world. It's the last thing that we experience when we leave this world. I mean, it's all about the breath. And when you can start controlling your breath and slowing down your breath, you slow down your entire system. I mean, think about that, right? The complete opposite of a panic attack is calmness. What is your breath doing, and how are you breathing when you're completely calm? I'm doing it right now. It's just peaceful. It's not, my heart's not beating fast. Everything starts slowing down. And when you can start controlling that, and usually for me, that's in through the nose, 4 to 6 seconds. A lot of it's going to depend on your overall lung capacity, but 4 to 6 seconds, and using, your stomach to breathe, not your chest. Your chest should not be going in and out. It's really through your stomach. Breathing in through your nose, and then 4 to 6 seconds, nice and slow and just peaceful. Whatever feels peaceful to you. Don't get caught on a certain number. And then out through your mouth. Same deal, nice and slow, even up to 8 seconds. You're just doing this slowly. Do that 10 times, and your whole body will change. Everything about you shifts. And anxiety cannot live in your body when you do that enough times. Depending on where you are with your anxiety and your panic attacks, it cannot live. And of course, yes, something could happen. All of a sudden, they put you in a scary situation with a big group of people, and obviously it goes away and it spikes. However, as I've learned, and I started slowly putting myself in scary situations that used to freak me out, and I would just start practicing that breathing. And sometimes it didn't work. Sometimes I'd literally be just sweating, literally my sweat dripping all over my face and through my armpits and through my shirt, and I would just have to sit there and eat it, meaning just sit there and keep doing it. And eventually everything would slow down if I did that breathing enough. In through my nose, 4 to 6 seconds, out through my mouth, 4 to even 8 seconds, just nice and slow, basically just slowing everything down to get into a state of calmness. So that was step number 1, and that did not solve the problem in and of it by itself. I think the other point is the mission. This is your why, your purpose. Why do you get up in the morning? Something to look forward to during the crappy times, like going through anxiety attacks. And this is going to be different for everyone. I can't tell you what it is. Many times it's going to be something small. I think one of the biggest problems people struggle with this whole mission is thinking it has to be something big. Like, and I think a lot of it is the media, right? And we see these celebrities and we think, that has to be our big mission. We have to change the world and impact 50 billion people, or we got to create the next Microsoft or Apple or Facebook or whatever it is. And for most of us, that's not the case. I mean, 99% of us, it's not going to be the case. Our mission could be super, super small. It could be just impacting one person. It could be making someone smile. Every one of us has some gift, and for pretty much everyone, it's going to happen at a different day when you figure out what that is. And a lot of times it's something you can look back in your past and say, you know what, it felt easy. I was good at that. And usually that means you have that gift, you don't even know it, and you've taken it for granted because it was easy for you. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to spend too much time on that one because that's just a rabbit hole we could go down forever. But you have to have something to look forward to, and make it something small. Make up something if you can't think of it what it is, but some type of mission, some kind of purpose, some type of why, something that you want to do, just something you can look forward to every morning and say, all right, I'm going to get one step closer to this, to doing this. I mean, it could literally be anything you could possibly. It could be a new job. It could be a new partner, a spouse. It could be anything you could think of. It could be making an impact, or hey, I'm going to give $10,000 to this church or this charity. It could be anything you can put your mind to. I think that part is so critical. And once I started doing that, everything got easier. And then the final one is the faith. We've already touched on it. Stockdale touched on it. He mentioned the word faith in there, that you can never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you cannot afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. And that brutal reality is, if you're listening to this, I assume you're going through some anxiety attacks, or maybe a loved one is. And you can't confuse that and act like it's not there, because it is. And you got to confront it. But you also have to do these small things over and over and over again, just like the healing bone, right? Just like anything that needs time to heal. That's really what your body is doing. Your body is designed to heal, and it will heal if you give it time and if you give it all the right things that it needs. And for me, and for now, who knows, countless of people who have shared similar testimonials in this, that the breathing part of it is pretty critical. I have not yet met anyone who's overcome anxiety attacks without the breathing, and having a mission is incredibly critical. Same deal. It's one of those ingredients. It's almost always there. And same with faith. And if you have some issue with God, that's between you and Him. I would urge you to have some type of faith in a God. To me, that was a critical part of me getting through it. But the other part of the faith is just absolute 100% faith in yourself and or a God that is going to get you through it. 100% faith that you will be healed. 100% faith that this anxiety and these panic attacks and anxiety attacks, whatever you're going through, that it's not going to control you for the rest of your life. So guys, I hope that was helpful. If you have any other thoughts or questions, things that I missed, I'm just doing this kind of off the cuff after getting all these emails. Let me know. My email is joe@saltstrong.com. That's JOE@saltstrong.com. It takes me a while to get back with every one of you because I do get a ton of emails, but I promise you I read every single one. Sometimes it's late on the weekends when I'm finally getting back to people. But if you have any questions on this, if you're struggling with something or something feels like it's just taking too long, I get you. Hit me up. Let me know any kind of questions, or if you just want me to pray over you, I would love to do that. So let me know, joe@saltstrong.com. And if you have any other thoughts on podcast episodes that are similar to this, or more in depth on one of those 3 steps, the breathing, the mission of the faith, let me know as well. I would love to go in deeper if you guys have questions, because once again, I've been there, and it was a very long journey. But then again, like Stockdale said, it was something that I would not trade. Isn't that crazy? In retrospect, I would not trade it for the world. It changed my life for the positive, and it gave me hope that once I did get through it, that I could get through anything, right? Because think about that. If you're dealing with this right now, like, all right, if I can just get through this, I can get through anything. And then all of a sudden, when it does happen, which takes time, just like the broken bone, all of a sudden you are a new person. You're a new version of yourself, and you're going to have so much confidence. You're just going to have you're going to be exuding just awesomeness. Where nothing can stop you. You will be unstoppable. But for now, you got to overcome it one step at a time, one day at a time, and just have absolute faith that it will happen. And it's not going to happen on a specific date that you want to pick. It's going to happen on God's time, but it will happen. You got to have faith, and you got to have a reason to keep on doing it every single day. Guys, I love you. Stay positive. Be filled with love. Be generous. Write down who and what you're grateful for every day. All those little things help as well. And I'd love to hear from you. Talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul, it was pain.